Kia ora, welcome to the Guerin Report on your Monday night. Looking forward to having your company for the next half an hour. Tonight, we go into the second part of our interview with Zac Purton, getting into the horses and rivals and all the things you need to know to back a winner when you're watching Sha Tin. But before then, this morning the announcement made that Orchestral, one of the wonder mares of New Zealand racing, a horse who won 3 times in $1 million plus races at Ellerslie, has been retired. She had heart arrhythmia after racing in the Breeders' Stakes at Counties last start. That hasn't gone back into normal. It won't affect her life. She'll be totally healthy heading forward. But Roger James, Robert Wellwood and Colin and Helen Litt saying, no, let's pull the plug. She has nothing left to prove. So much happens in New Zealand racing these days, and Trans-Tasman racing for that matter. It's really easy to forget just how good some of these great horses are because so much has happened since she won the trackside New Zealand Derby last year. Tonight, we're going to remind you. Here is Orchestral being special. Orchestral, conducted by Craig Grills, vocals by George Simon.
Orchestral, she's near the widest of all here. She's starting to close now. And behind them then as they head for home, we've got into length. But Orchestral, she's bounded up to them. Ellerslie erupts and she takes the lead. Orchestral, 2 clear from Ascend the Throne. And from Coast going a cheeky race. Further back then is Just a Sharp as they go to the 100 metres. It's the sight we all envisage. It is going to be Orchestral, an Orchestral masterpiece in the Derby.
Yeah, she was a beauty. Thank you to the Litts and to Roger and Robert for sharing her with us. She'll head off to the broodmare paddock worth an enormous amount of money. She was in this market, she no longer is. This is the market for the Cambridge Stud Zabeel Classic. Ellerslie on Boxing Day, so Orchestral comes out. Have spoken to the connections of Waitak. They're happy with how he came through Trentham. He will be there. $1.90's a bit short for my liking, but he is heading to the race and all good after his second placing in the TAB Mufasa Classic. El Vencedor is definitely heading there. Stephen Marsh telling me he may head to Te Rapa for a gallop on December the 20th. Before that, La Creek will be there. Carly Alpha Russia is a yes, but her stablemate Quintessa is a no. So no for Quintessa and Legato. Spoke to co-trainer Ken Kelso this morning. He said, yep, we're heading there. So Boxing Day at Ellerslie, Waitak, El Vencedor, Carly Alpha Russia, La Creek, Legato. It is going to be a beauty. No Quintessa. She was out of the stable for a while. She'll head fresh to the BCD Sprint at Te Rapa. Now also at Boxing Day at Ellerslie, big news, Well Written. Yep, the unbeaten filly, more than likely, talking to Stephen Marsh this morning for the Guerin Report, more than likely, Well Written returns for that race, the 1400 metre 3-year-old on Boxing Day, and that opens up the very real possibility she heads to the Karaka Million 3-year-old. That wasn't on the calendar. Marshy said it is now back on her schedule. Well Written, heading more than likely Boxing Day into the Karaka Million 3-year-old for 1.5 million. You'd heard it here first on the Guerin Report. Let's get to Zac Purton. We really enjoyed talking to him last week. Tonight, we're going to talk about some of his great rivals, about the business of racing in Hong Kong, and how you can back a winner at Sha Tin on a Sunday night. Zac Purton. Well, Zac, great to have you back. Craig Williams came on the show recently and said Hong Kong is the toughest place in the world to ride. Why?
First of all, it's hard to get an opportunity. Secondly, we've got big fields. 12 runners at Happy Valley, 14 runners at Sha Tin. They're very fast run races, quick out of the gates, quick to get positions, we race very tight. You can't make mistakes. Mistakes that get amplified. You know, the media, they pick apart every single section of the race. And if you're making mistakes, it sort of gets showcased. And, you know, I always say in Hong Kong that, you know, in Australia, if sort of things weren't quite going right, maybe a hubcap would fall off your car. But in Hong Kong, if things aren't going right, all 4 wheels fall off. That's what it feels like. It's just, you bang your head against the wall.
Even for you, like no one's going to say, I don't want Zac Purton on my horse. He's useless. So if you have a bad run where you don't ride a winner for you said last week 18 starts or 25 or whatever. Does it become an issue? Because surely you don't drop out of favour.
No, for some of the other guys, it does become an issue because they're not getting the same amount of opportunities as what I'm getting. And I've got my rides booked sort of 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks in advance. So even if I have one quiet meeting or 2 quiet meetings, I know I've got other opportunities and other rides coming up. But the other guys might not be in the fortunate position that I'm in, and they might not have much coming up. And then if they don't have anything booked and they're going through a quiet patch, then they can't get another good ride. So you sort of start to get on the hamster wheel, and it's very hard to get off.
Well, Jamie Richards told me on the show last year that you don't ask Zac to ride a horse for you. If he wants to ride it, he'll let you know.
If Zac wants to ride something, he'll text you and say, I'd like to ride that. Like if you ask him to ride something, often the answer is, no, I'm already booked up on that.
So does that mean you don't have a manager who takes care of your rides? And do you do this all yourself?
We're not allowed to have managers in Hong Kong.
But you don't have anybody who even helps you in any capacity?
No, I do it all myself, and I like doing it myself.
So you just text people and say, I'll be happy enough to ride that next week?
Yeah. And I've got all my rides, my schedule, my program written out. I've got all the rides that I've got
so
out in front of me.
How do you decide which ones?
Oh, listen, I watch the track work. I'm in the trainer's stand quite often as well, watching the horses breeze past. Something might catch my eye. I watch all the trials, I watch all the races, of course, as well. So between doing all that and then speaking to the trainers, and a lot of owners are in touch with me as well, you know, a horse that might get bought here in Australia, the owner might contact me and say, I bought this nice horse that's coming up on this shipment. When it gets there, have a look at it. I have a few bloodstock agents that try and give me the heads up as well, which is good. So that's just a combination of everything. But, you know, it's identifying the right horse at the right time. It's got to be in the right grade. It's got to have the right rating. It's got to be at the right distance. I don't want to be riding a young horse that's going to be a miler in its first 3 or 4 runs. It ain't going to be winning.
In that case, do you ever say to somebody, look, once this horse gets to a mile, I'll be happy to help you out?
Sure, all the time. I'll say,
so some other kid jumps on for 3 starts and then you jump on later on.
It's the nature of the beast.
Hey, it is exactly the nature of the beast. Talk me through, you raised an interesting question there, or raised a statement about being in the trainer's hut sometimes. Talk me through your regular week, because we know you race Wednesday, Sunday predominantly.
Yep.
How often apart from that would you be at the track?
I'm at the track every day. I'm on a horse every day. So I ride track work Monday to Saturday.
So how do people get you to ride track work?
I'm basically just fine-tuning the horses in the last 1, 2 or 3 gallops leading into a race. Getting on them, getting a feel for them, sort of giving some feedback, liaising with the trainers. Monday to Saturday I ride work. I have Sunday morning off. Some jockeys go Sunday morning, but I think I need to have one morning off, and especially racing on Sunday. So we race Wednesday night and Sunday predominantly, and we mostly have barrier trials Tuesday, Friday as well. So it's fairly busy doing all of that. And then outside of that, I've got my personal training, ride the bike, go hiking, go running, try and play golf if I can. You've got to fit the lunches, coffees, dinners in. Try and be there for the kids as much as I can. And then, you know, you've got the maintenance on the body, whether that's physio, chiropractic, whatever I need at the time.
There's only just over 1,200 horses in Hong Kong, so does that make it easier to do the form? And do you do all of yours yourself?
Yeah, it is easier, and you're racing against them regularly, so you get to understand and know the horses quite well. So, you know, whether they hang in, hang out, whether they've got a short run, long run, whether they like to race on speed, off speed.
So you do all that video analysis yourself?
Yep.
Did the club provide speed maps or indicative speed maps for you?
They do provide that stuff.
Do you pay attention to that?
I don't follow their speed maps, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they not very good?
Speed maps is subjective. It's just someone's opinion. So
you're talking my language here, Zac.
I think they're a good asset and a good tool to have. But
aren't they intent-based? Surely, if you or J-Mac, who are the top of the tree, decide, I'm going to fire this out of the gates this week, surely that's more important than what a horse has done the previous 10 starts for a speed map. That's what I've always thought about.
Of course, and they're going over different distances. Jockeys like to ride horses different ways. Trainers like to have their horses ridden differently. There's a lot of different things at play. You get track bias and things like that. But I hate the fact in Australia that you have to announce before a race a change of tactics. I think it's absurd. I don't see Craig Bellamy, the coach of the Melbourne Storm, telling the opposition how his team's going to play before he goes out on the field. You don't want to give your advantage away.
We could just stop now, Zac. We could stop talking. The interview's done. That's exactly what I was hoping someone would one day say. Well, I think it's insane that in a big money industry and in business, you wouldn't have to declare what you're going to do next to the other people in the business.
Totally agree. And it just blows my mind that they continue to go down that path.
Hong Kong has this mystique, and I'm not saying it's true, but it's definitely there that everybody is crazy about the punt, particularly owners. Does that in any way affect the way the jockeys either ride? For example, we want this pit in the race today, or even your views on accepting a ride, like we are going to be on this horse next week or whatever. Does it play in at all to your life?
Well, generally they're not putting me on a horse because they're going to have a big bet on it.
Okay.
You know, because they're so tight in the market, they're taking unders. If they want to have a big bet, they're going to put another jockey on that's mid-table, that maybe on a little bit of a dry run that they're going to get a bit of a price about. They put me on because they want to win the race. They're desperate to win. They're desperate for the photo. They want to be successful. They want to do well. They're not out there. It's not a punting scenario, although they will still bet on them.
Isn't that a catch-22? Because you want the best guy on so it wins, but if they get you on, it's going to pay less.
But they're going to get the prize money.
And the photo.
And the photo. And that's all they want.
The Hong Kong Jockey Club have very strict rules, and it seems to work for them because they are an incredibly powerful institution. How is your relationship there with the power brokers? Obviously, Winfred downwards. How do you get on with them?
I get along with them well, actually. They're all very approachable. They're at the races all the time. They're good to have conversations with. You know, of course, things ebb and flow at times. I get a little bit disgruntled with some things that go on, and you know, they've got to run a tight ship, so it is what it is. But it's
I imagine they're pretty hard people to argue with, though.
Well, they make the rules. You know, the house makes the rules. So you know, it's as simple as that at the end of the day.
They recently introduced new whip regulations and restrictions. You spoke out against those. Tell me why.
I don't agree with it. I think it's hypocritical in a way. You know, you're allowed to hit a horse, but you're only allowed to hit it a certain amount of times. It just doesn't really make sense in my mind. And anyone that's ridden a horse understands that the horse respects the whip, whether it's show jumping, dressage, casual riding, things like that. So I think there's that aspect to it as well. But we train our horses to respond to the whip. That's their signal. It's like a coach on the sideline. If he stands there not saying anything, you're probably just going to float around a little bit. But if the coach starts barking orders, or I start hitting the horse with a whip, he knows it's go time. And there are a lot of horses, especially in Hong Kong, that have been in the system for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And they learn to cheat. They learn to take the piss. So they need a little bit of encouragement. But I feel horses respond better to the whip. It's like a signal for them, go time.
I think Hong Kong racing fascinates people. I think it fascinates punters, but so many people in this part of the world, New Zealand and Australia, don't really understand it. So what's the key to it? What sort of horses do you need to win up there? And what's the key to regularly winning up there? Because I think we all like to watch it on a Sunday night, but it's all a bit mysterious.
You need a tough horse. It's a tough environment. Once they go there, they're in a box. It's basically like a jail cell. You know, in an air-conditioned stable. They go out on the track in this humidity. We've got hard ground. It's the same thing day after day after day. Now we have Trongfa now, which is great. The horses can go up there, and it sort of refreshes their mind a little bit and gives them a little bit of variance in their training schedule. But it's still sort of copy and paste week in, week out. It's the same. But you know, you just want a tough gelding that's just going to be reliable and run the same race all the time.
Does size matter? Because we've seen at the Ready to Run sale in New Zealand in recent years that people are gravitating more towards that 500 to 520, 530 kilo horse?
I think they need to be a decent size because when they're going through the class system, at some stage they've got to carry 135 pounds. That's a fair bit of weight for a horse to carry, so they need to be a certain size to be able to carry it. But I think you can go too far in getting too bigger horses, and there are quite a few bigger horses in Hong Kong at the moment, and they're not as athletic and agile as the ones that might maybe sort of 100 pound less than them.
Okay. I want to ask you about what must have been a remarkable experience, because we can't just pigeonhole you to Hong Kong. You've had an incredible life on the racetrack. Little Bridge winning at Ascot in 2012, New Zealand bred horse. It must have been very satisfying to go there and win on that stage.
It was. I didn't realise the gravity of it at the time. But as the years have gone on and looking back now, it gives me a lot of satisfaction that I was able to achieve that, and especially on Little Bridge, because he was a horse I seen at track work one morning. He'd only been out at the track 3 or 4 mornings. And I said to Danny Shum, I said, I quite like, and I was riding a lot for Danny Shum. I've ridden more winners for Danny Shum than any other trainer in Hong Kong. I've sort of been his go-to jockey for a long period of time now, except in more recent times. But I seen him at track work and I said to Danny, I'd love to ride that horse. He said, no problem, you can ride him. So I rode him basically from his second week in Hong Kong, galloping, trialling. I won his first 6 or 7 races in a row on him. And then we ended up at Royal Ascot. And he really took me to the next level in the eyes of the people in Hong Kong. Before that, it was really hard to get a leading ride in a Group 1 race, because although I was riding a lot of winners, they kept saying, well, you haven't done it in the Group 1 races. These other jockeys have. There was still a little bit of that. But once I won on him, the doors opened. So 2012 was a great year for me. I won at Royal Ascot in June. I won the World Super Jockey Series in Japan. I got married to Nicole, and I won my first international mile on Ambitious Dragon. And that was sort of the catalyst for the floodgates opening.
Those floodgates also took you to Japan on the New Zealand bred Aero Velocity, trained by the great Paul O'Sullivan. That must have been very cool, because again, I think for lots of people in this part of the world, Zac, they see Japanese racing and they see the mammoth crowds and the cheering and the adulation for the horse, and they're like, wow.
It's a different beast over there, and we know how strong their breeding industry is there. No international horse had ever won that race, and he's still the only international horse ever to win it. So that tells you how hard it is to win. And it was great to do it for Paul. He was such a good supporter of mine, and such a friendly fella, really good for advice.
Hell of a good trainer.
Hell of a good trainer.
Yeah.
I could always rely on him. You know, when he booked me to ride a horse, it would always turn up. You know, he's one of those trainers I could always rely on. So it was great that, you know, I was able to, in some respects, towards the back end of his training career in Hong Kong, before he was deciding to move back to New Zealand, I was able to sort of give him something back. And it was a touching moment. He tells a story where I thought the horse was gone as well. When we come around the corner, he wasn't handling the track that well. It was a little bit cut up on the inside, so I sort of angled him out, sort of 3 or 4 more horses. And when I did that, he changed his leg, and he went from losing ground to picking up and then getting up on the line to win. And Paul said, he said it many times, he turned to his assistant trainer, Pierre Rung, who's now a trainer in Hong Kong. At that moment when he was starting to lose ground, he said, "Not today, Pierre, not today." And then obviously he got up to win. So it was just great. It was a good trip. The owners of the horse have been fantastic.
When it's a business, and it has to be a business at your level, is there room for affection for trainers? If it comes down to, I might ride this or I might ride that, does it matter if you like the trainer and you'll take a ride for them, or does it just have to be business?
Ultimately, at the end of the day, my job is to try and get on the best horse I can on every race. So if I can get a better ride than that one, then I'll take it. But there are trainers that I ride more regularly for than others. There are some trainers I've suspended. I refused to ride for again in Hong Kong, because I just got sick of the way that they carried on and talked, and they were unreliable and things like that. So
is that the privilege of being Zac Purton, that you can suspend people?
Possibly. You know, is it to the detriment of my career to a certain degree? Yes, it is, because, you know, I'm shutting the door on a stable where there was an opportunity there. So I am giving winners away, but I just think mentally for me, if I can't deal with anyone anymore, I'm like, you're gone, you're out. And some trainers I took back off the bench after a period of time.
Suspended.
Yeah. It's just,
benched.
Yeah.
Sin bin. The Hall of Fame is, as you said, not something people expect to get into. But what was it like when you found out you were going to be inducted into the Australian Hall of Fame, which is, it's pretty rarefied here?
It wasn't totally out of the blue, to be honest, because a few years beforehand I had heard some murmurings that I was getting spoken about. But as time went on, I thought, oh, well, it's not going to happen. But I remember the morning clearly, because they rang Nicole and they told her a couple of days beforehand, but they said, oh, we'd like to break it to Zac. Can you find a moment? And she said she couldn't find a moment for a couple of days. I must have been a bit edgy, or she sort of didn't want to butt in. And to be fair, when she did come to me, I'd just come home from the trials and I was exhausted, and I just sat down in the office to do some work, and she comes up and she says, we've got to make this phone call. And I'm like, can you give me a moment? Like, not now, just like, can we do this later? And she's like, you have to do it now. So she got the phone out, and I'm bad here because I forget the name of the lady I spoke to, but when she said it to me, I was a little bit short with her on the phone too, actually. I was like, oh yeah, what do you want, blah, blah, blah. And when she told me, I was like, oh, okay, oh, thank you, that's nice. And then they patched someone else in, and we spoke about it. So I've had time to reflect on it. I didn't realise how big it was at the time, to be honest. Not until I actually went and looked at the list and seen how tight it was. I thought there was a larger group of jockeys and people that had been inducted.
And the names on the list.
And the names. And when I seen that, I was like, oh, wow, this is important. It is a big thing. So once again, it's fills me with a lot of satisfaction. I feel very privileged to have that honour bestowed upon me, and it's in a lot of respects I feel like I've earned it and deserved it, but you're still not guaranteed to get it.
You mentioned Nicole. I think everybody who's successful in any sphere of life who has a partner needs the support of their partner, but Nicole seems very much a force of nature. Like, she's right behind you the whole way. She knows what you need to do to be successful. I presume she's a massive part of making this whole family machine work. She's
been great right from the start. And I think we sort of got together at the right time, so we've gone on the whole journey together. And she just gets it. Like, when I need to sleep, she makes sure the kids are quiet and lets me sleep. When I need to do more exercise because I'm not quite at the level I want to be at and I want to do a little bit more, I've got the freedom to go and do that. She takes very good care of the kids, makes sure they're looked after, and lets me do my job. And then when you go out for dinner and that with the owners, she's very good with the owners. She's got great relationships with all of them now. So, she just makes my job very easy.
All right, let's talk about bests ofs away from the wife, who is clearly the best of. Let's talk about, this is a tricky one. We do this a lot on the show, and we have a lot of people who overfill their quota. We'll start with best horses you've ridden. So, look, I know you've ridden some bangers, so we'll give you, try to stick to 3.
I would say Kaying Rising Aero Velocity would be 2.
Dead heat for 3rd?
I've always got a soft spot for Little Bridge because of what he did for me, and we'll say Aero because he was the first horse in Hong Kong to win 3 Group 1s in 3 different countries in the same year.
Okay. Best trainers you've ridden for or seen enough of to know how good they are?
Yeah, it's subjective because it depends a little bit on opportunity as well. There are a lot of great trainers that don't really get the opportunity that some of the bigger trainers have got, but I would say in Hong Kong, John Size, just because everyone in Hong Kong now trains the John Size way. So he went there, he created a system, it was obviously very successful, and now everyone wants to create what he does.
How does that system work, roughly? As much as you can.
He doesn't gallop them a lot, but he trials them and races them a lot. There's a lot more to it in between all of that, but yeah, that's predominantly how it is.
Okay, this will be interesting. Best riders you've ridden against, because I presume you've ridden against everybody.
Oh, listen, I've been around for a while now. You know, we'll start with the father-in-law, Pumper. Yeah. You know, he's right up there. You know, you've got your Damien Olivers, your Darren Beemans, your Glenn Bosses, your Bowmans. In Hong Kong, Moreira, White, you've got Ryan Moore, Christoph Sumion, your Taki's a legend. I've been very lucky to ride against all the best jockeys in the last 2 decades. And that's the great thing about Hong Kong is, you know, you regularly get to ride against these guys.
What makes a good jockey?
One that doesn't make mistakes. It's as simple as that.
Less mistakes?
The best jockey makes the least amount of mistakes.
We're coming up to Hong Kong International Racing Week, weekend, but effectively it's over the course of the week with the Jockeys Championship. What does it mean for you? Because you are the king of Hong Kong. What does it mean to have these great horses and these other great riders come and take you on your home tracks?
Got to defend our own backyard, right? It's always about that. And there's a lot of privilege and you're proud when you're able to do that as well. It's not easy for anyone to travel their horse overseas. So they're coming into our backyard. Sometimes they're coming with some extremely good horses, you know, far higher rated than our horses. So it's not easy to go head to head with them, especially when you get to 1.25 miles and 1.5 miles. But it's, you know, it's proud. You wear it as a badge of honour. People in Hong Kong are very parochial about their racing.
Do you feel sometimes, and I think it's changed a little bit with Kaying Rising and Romantic Warrior the last couple of years, but people underrate Hong Kong horses? It's a small pool, Golden 60 didn't beat anything, all that type of rubbish. Because I've asked people who do spend time there and they're like, no, these are proper horses. Do you think there's, because people don't understand how good they are, or because they don't get to see them, they can underestimate them?
Of course, you know, there's a lot of that, but there's a lot of that everywhere around the world. You see horses in the UK don't travel sometimes. You see horses in Australia don't travel sometimes. You know, people from the UK can say that about Australia. You know, they're beating the same horses all the time.
Well, they say it about Winx.
They say it about Winx, exactly. Yeah. You know, and now they've sent Via Cecina down. And look at how well she's done the last couple of years. You know, imagine her against Winks at that point in time. You know, she wasn't the best horse that Europe had, which is very good. But, you know, she's gone to another level here.
You now hold the record for wins in Hong Kong. So what's left to achieve? I presume 2,000 wins is the natural next target, but what else do you want to do up there?
It's a good question. You know, I'm motivated. It's not as if I'm just floating along. Like, I want to ride as many winners as I can. I go to every meeting trying to win every race. So motivation's not a factor. I don't need anything to motivate me. But yeah, 2,000 winners. I'd like to get to 2,000 winners, and hopefully I can do that this season. But beyond that, you know, there is nothing for me to do. I've done everything there. It's like the book's been written. I've completed it. We can close it. But it's not my time to stop yet. You know, I'm still enjoying it.
All right, that raises a really interesting question. What will Zac Purton be doing in 10 years' time?
Hopefully playing golf off scratch.
Okay, what will he be doing in the real world?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, to be honest, I've thought about that quite a bit, and I've had time to think about it, and I just don't really know what I'm going to do. I don't want to be on TV. I don't have a head for TV or a voice for radio.
Hasn't stopped me.
And like I said, I'm a little bit shy. Like, I just want to slip back into society and be a normal person.
You have no interest in training or any of that sort of thing?
Nicole wants me to train, but it's only because she wants to keep me in Hong Kong.
Couldn't you just stay in Hong Kong? And I mean, surely you got enough money to survive a couple of years.
Well, it's a possibility, and we have been talking about that a little bit more recently. But, you know, Australia's home. Our family and friends are here, and we've been there for so long. So it's going to be a difficult decision to make when we have to make it, but we'll worry about that then.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a favour, because there's lots of people watching this who on a Sunday night or even a Wednesday night in Aussie or New Zealand look up and they want to have a bet at Sha Tin or Happy Valley, but they know nothing about it. As best you can sum it up for the punters who don't know and want to have a go, what's the key to winning a race in Hong Kong on the punt? Is it the draw? Is it the trainer? Is it the jockey? Is it the market moves? For those people watching this, give us a leg up. What's the key to it, winning a race?
That's an endless question.
Well,
really.
I'm asking you because you're
the
king of Hong Kong.
The key for me being successful is to get on the right horse at the right time.
You could have just said follow Zac Purton.
When they're ready to win, but the market gets it right. Like, they're very sharp. Those market moves, you know, they're pretty accurate. So if
is that because there's so many smart professional punters involved in the system up there?
The computer teams are so clever. Their analytics are so good. Their data is so good. They're hard to beat, but you know, the market there is very tight.
Okay, well, you're not retired yet, and you're going to get 2,000 wins this season more than likely. So do you have any idea how much longer the Purton train is going to keep chugging around the tracks in Hong Kong?
Ultimately, I think my body will decide that.
You look pretty fit.
There have been stages, yeah, well, I have to be, right, to be a jockey. But there have been stages, especially in the last sort of 3 to 5 years, where I've woken up and I've thought, you know, I can't do this anymore. Like, I was in agony, absolute agony. In those years, I was going head-to-head with Joe, and even towards the end of last season, I was asking the Jockey Club if I could cut the end of the season short because my hip was giving me a bit of trouble. But they wanted me to keep going, they wanted me there, so I sort of went through the pain. I only had to go through a few more meetings, but some days I wake up and I'm just like, oh, geez, I just don't know if I can keep going through this. Luckily at the moment, I've had the off season, my body feels good. We're only early in the season, but at some stage, I'm going to wake up one day and just go, that's enough.
An illuminating conversation with Zac about the rigours on horses in Hong Kong, some of his great rivals. His 3 best horses all have New Zealand connections, of course, and what you need to know to back a winner on an average Sunday night at Sha Tin. It won't be average there this week. It's International Race Week in Hong Kong. We're heading up there for the show. There'll be lots of coverage on trackside, but next Sunday it is Purton on Kaying Rising, McDonald on Romantic Warrior, and all of that, along with some of our New Zealand mates from Hong Kong, wrapped on the show next Monday at 8 p.m. The Guerin Report trackside and trackside.co.nz.